Welcome to another Demarcation Media Mega Construx review. Today we are going to be looking at the UNSC Wasp Onslaught. After a fairly lengthy wait, I was finally able to get my hands on the set, and I'm quite excited to take a look at it. There's some really cool stuff in here. A new Banished Hunter, a shade turret. We haven't seen an actual shade turret in a set for a little while. And of course, the Wasp itself. We do have another Master Chief who I'm actually pretty interested to take a look at. So let's take a look at the box. We get pretty nice display of how things are going to be out of the box. The Hunter looks a little small. That's the only thing that looks a little odd to me. The Wasp itself, I'm a little worried because it kind of looks like the section here and then the wing pieces here really should be bigger to match the on-screen vehicle. Maybe that's just the way the box is. Maybe it'll look better in person. I'm not sure. Alternate build up here. Looks like a little Grunt hover vehicle, and then UNSC, whatever that is, speeder. Top of the box, pretty standard. More stuff around the side, around the back. There's a fair bit going on. We get to see the rotors and then everything all over again. Banished chopper and then the escape helmet. And then up here are just the weapons. They're all pretty standard. What's not standard, or what hasn't been standard until the recent Infinite sets, is this box type. I pointed it out. I don't want to bust up my setup anymore that's already busted up. I pointed this box type out for the chopper takedown set, and they brought it back here with the nice hinge. Actually, let me raise up the camera a little bit so we can kind of just hinge this open, and it gives the whole thing a very, very collector feel because you can keep the box perfectly intact and get all the bags out. So let's go ahead and start pulling those out. So we have the, what is this? This is the unnumbered bag with the figures and stuff in it. Bag number 3. Number 2. Ooh, those orange pieces look nice. Number 4. And number 5. Wait, what? Oh, wait, duh, this is numbered. I did not see that. Here's number 1. Number 1 has all the figure parts. And then we have this thing. This is weird. This is like the same stuff that the buildable Master Chief helmet's visor is made out of. It's like this plasticky, it's basically like the stuff some business cards are made out of, like really nice business cards. It's kind of like plastic, but I think there's like some cardboard in it. So this is for the shade turret. It'll be interesting to see how that works. And then the instructions. Go ahead and get the box out of the way. Instructions. Let's see. We have anything of note in the back. Pretty much what we saw in the back of the box. I really like the landscape that they have. I still don't quite understand why we have like the grid lines. So it's like normal landscape and then it turns into almost hologram grid lines. Like it's a simulation. We can see the list figures. I think I've probably said this before, but if you have a set and something is wrong with the figures, you can't just order separate pieces. As you can see, the figures are listed as one piece each. All right, well, let me go ahead and get this built and we'll take a closer look. And we are done. So we've definitely got some things to talk about. Some good things, some very good things, and also some not so good things. But we are going to start with the figures, but before we even get to the figures, we are going to take a look at the pile of extras. There we are. Big, juicy pile of extras. There's a lot of extras. I mean, like, this is a lot of extras for a set this size, but that's kind of par for the course with these Infinite sets. And I guess, I don't know, sometimes you need the extra parts for the alternate builds, but usually not. We do have all these clear pieces. These are temporary parts that you are supposed to use during the build. I didn't use them. They were absolutely pointless. You just stuck them on there and they didn't give any support or anything. So Mega just added these clear pieces for pretty much no reason at all. They're cool, but it kind of seems a bit like a waste of money. This is a front piece for the shade turret if you want to make a deactivated version, but we're not going to be doing that in this video. I'll talk about that when we get to the turret itself. But this is supposed to be in there. You can pop it on the front where the energy shield usually is, and it's pretty cool. We got some nice blue pieces. One of these is a plasma grenade. Actually, let me look at the box again real quick. Okay, this technically is not an extra then. There's supposed to be 2 of them in there, but the Grunt can't hold a gun and 2 grenades. Got this cool blue piece, some clear pieces. Most of these are fairly standard parts. We got some bars and clips, and the most notable is this piece right here, which is a machine gun end. I'm not sure if it's new. I have never seen it before, so it's new to me. But yeah, there's just 1 extra of these, so you can make a little gun turret if you want to. Probably even out of these parts. So yeah, another giant pile of extras, just like with pretty much all the Infinite sets. Our first figure is a blue Grunt. He is pretty much in the same style we've seen before. He gets a gray base plate. He has a plasma pistol and a plasma grenade. His head actually does move, so that's nice. The mask on this guy likes to pop off a lot. I've never really had that happen with my Grunts before, so that's a little weird. What is also weird is they made his arms out of rubber this time. So like this little bar here, like it bends in weird ways. So you'll try to pose him like you just saw. I tried to move his arm to show the plasma pistol and his arm just kind of bent. And it kind of, I don't know. I don't like that. That's weird. All the other Grunts have been kind of like bar, hard, normal bar pieces for the arms. But now it's like this weird rubber. I don't like that. It's just kind of awkward. This little crack here is also kind of awkward. It's usually supposed to be a little bit more closed, but it apparently can't close anymore. And he comes almost pre-built. You just have to put his head on. Our next figure is a UNSC Marine, and she is pretty much the same as we've seen for many Infinite Marines. Shorter legs, armored shoulders, same chest plate, and if anybody tells me in the comments that the groin piece is on backwards, I will literally blow my lid and whistle like a teapot, because that is not supposed to go on the back. See how it is here? That's how it's supposed to go. Check the instructions. Armed with an AR, the little scope pieces, the super annoying little scopes, come in a bag separate, so you shouldn't lose them. But there is 2 of them. I will warn you, there is 2 of them. Pretty standard helmet, but if you remove it, the head is the same mold as well, it was created for Miranda Keys, but nobody barely even has Miranda Keys yet, so mostly it's just been on Marines. But they did something different. Let me go ahead and grab the other blind bag Marine, or sorry, not other blind bag Marine, other Marine, who has this head. She's hiding behind her battle rifle. Assault rifle. I can't speak right now. Okay, there we go. You can see the difference is quite shocking. So what they did differently here is the whole head color is actually the hair color, and they printed on the skin. So not only does the skin have a more realistic cast, but we don't have any of this flesh hair business going on because the hair is actually the color of the whole head. I think that was really clever. That was a perfect way to get around the weird flesh hair thing, and it just looks more realistic. Like, it's a little frightening how real looking this face is. So I'm interested to see if they will expand the way they're kind of like painting on the skin. I'm very interested to see if they'll do that more. Sometimes with this head, you can accidentally lever it off because of the hair if you turn it a certain way. But really, not really complaints with this one. I mean, it's just another generic Marine, but you never can have too many Marines, and they did her head very well. I'm surprised. I like this one. I can hear the groans already. Yes, this is another chief. But this guy's interesting. This guy's really interesting. His weapon is not really interesting. It's just a black AR, so we'll take that off. But the chief himself, he is this kind of light matte green, which is pretty interesting in of itself. I don't think we've had this color before. It's kind of a new color. Maybe it's the same color as the Comic-Con chief underneath the wash, but I'm not sure. But then he's got printed like battle damage. It almost looks like the little tiny cursed warthog drove over top of him and left some tire trails. He's got like a burn here, some burns there, some scrapes and burns down here. It is printed a little oddly, like you can see kind of like pixels, which is weird, but it's cool at the same time. So, I don't know. Oh, there's some more on the groin armor. It's both weird and cool at the same time, so I guess that's a good mix. The head is done pretty well. Mine in particular looks like there was a lot of like swirls in the plastic underneath the visor, so it kind of breaks up the visor a little bit. And he's got this dot of like gold or red right there on the nose section. But other than that, the only kind of QC issue is the fact that they missed the gray on this side a little bit. It's too far forward, whereas this side is smack dab on the lights. The other interesting thing to note about this guy, I haven't compared to know if this is true or not, but the head seems to be a new change to this head. This would, if I'm correct, make this the third iteration of this head because our range of movement is huge. Like, I do not remember Chief's head being able to move this much, especially like the side to side, and like he can move with this head. So that's cool. I like that a lot because it adds some posing. And there will be a comparison of all Infinite Chiefs Volume 2 coming hopefully pretty soon because I think this is the last Chief, Infinite Chief we know of other than the Gold Anniversary Pack one. Depending on when I get that, maybe I can slip him in. But yeah, for the most part, it's another Chief, but he's kind of cool. He looks good. And his color pairs with Fred quite well, actually. So if you don't want to have him with the Halo Heroes one, these guys look very nice side by side. And last but not least, the big banger on the figure list, and that is the Banished Hunter. I just want to go ahead and get my one issue out of the way. The head is very tight, and it barely moves without me forcing it. And there are some stress marks showing up on the neck joint already. So I think I'm going to have to sand that down. The shoulder joints came a little bit sticky as well. Hopefully that's not a widespread issue because that would really suck. And hopefully the neck doesn't break. That would also really suck. But visually, this guy is stunning. He's got a brighter silver than we've seen on the previous Banished Hunter. I'll bring him in just a second. But then he's got dark gray for the shields, dark gray for his gun hand, and then a bunch of print, particularly the dinged up Banished red print for the plating. You can see around the back, his spikes. There's some weird marbling going on with the paint here by the little pegs. I don't know if that's on purpose or not. But the whole thing is made to look scratched and dinged up. The Banished shield looks very nice. Look at that symbol. Oh, that whole get up right there is epic. Then we got some print on the head as well. This guy is looking nice, looking really nice. And obviously, I got to bring in the other guy. Where did I set him? That's a good question. Oh, here he is. So here's the dude from the Pelican. And you can see they are not the same color at all. Though with the Banished kind of slightly ragtag look, I think they pair together just fine. They have like the same color red underneath. See, the shields are different. The gray, I thought at first the gray for this guy's gun hand and shield would match this guy right here, but this is more of a flat gray and this is more of a silver gray. I don't really think that's a big problem. Like, definitely they don't match, like I said, but I think these easily could be a pair, and they look fantastic side by side. I do kind of wish they had made it match the Pelican Hunter a little bit more, just so that the Pelican Hunter would not be so rare. But, you know, it is what it is, and I think they did a fantastic job with this new guy. And hopefully this one will be a little more accessible. Moving on to the builds, we have the Shade Turret first. Now, my camera battery actually died, so I've had an entire day to kind of mess around with this and the Wasp before I could film this. And there are definitely some things that are a little weird with this. But first, we have a, what is this, fusion coil. They did it a little differently this time. It's a stack of single studs to give it a more textured energy look, which is pretty cool. And it's done in red. It's a very nice extra to have. Then we have the turret itself. Now, right off the bat, these orange pieces are fantastic. They're really just, Mega did a great job. This bright, vibrant orange, and then the energy texture is actually molded in lines. That's just super, super cool. Let me go ahead and pop this one off so you can kind of see. You can totally use this for, like, I could imagine somebody building a spaceship with that as the windshield. I don't know. There's a lot of uses for these. So I really appreciate Mega making these. I'm sure, come on, why can't I get this back on? There we go. I'm sure we're going to see it on Shade Turrets again in the future. So that's a great part. The size of it is pretty cool. Like, I think it's pretty accurate size. There's space for Grunt or whatever in there, and there's some movable controls. The downside, you're probably looking at this and going, that doesn't look right, dude. You built it wrong. Well, technically I did, because remember that interesting piece I was pointing out? So I went to take it out of its frame and it literally snapped. No hesitation, just crack, crack, and that was it. So yeah, I can't actually put it on because it's now a useless piece of trash. So I'm going to have to contact customer service and see if they can send me another one before I can actually have my Shade Turret built properly. So that's a huge bummer, huge bummer. I couldn't even, like, build it properly once before that snapped. So apparently they have some quality control issues with that, or it's just cheap to begin with, and I don't know. It was not good. Very disappointing. And now my Shade Turret looks a little weird. The other kind of odd thing is the way the guns are attached, the side shields are attached with it. So if I kind of close this in and want to move the guns down, that happens. And then so you have to kind of reposition the shields every time you want to move the gun, which is a little awkward and slightly frustrating. But that's the lesser of the two problems. The main problem is the fact that extra, like, frame piece just snapped so easily. It's very disappointing. But let's go ahead and try the Grunt on here. I still don't understand why they went with rubber arms for this Grunt. I don't think they're usually that rubbery. Okay, he's hanging on. So it looks like, I don't know, maybe if I finagled it, I could get him to hold both at once. But I don't feel like messing with it quite that much. But there he is in there shooting. And obviously you could have Chief hijack this as well. So that's pretty cool. Overall, it's not bad and it looks good and accurate, assuming that your pieces don't break on you as you're trying to build it. And it's nice to have a Shade Turret again. But I gotta say that I'm not sure what they were thinking with this plasticky stuff. It just, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think they should keep working with that. Yeah, it just was not good. And now we have the namesake of the set itself, the Wasp. The wings are hinged. You could obviously tell because they kind of flatten out when you land it, and then you can pick it up and it curves. So, like I said, I've had like a whole day to just kind of mess around with this because my camera battery died and I don't have an extra one, so I had to wait for it to charge. And yeah, so I had a whole day to kind of mess around with this, and let me just say it's a lot of fun to just fly around. Like, it's really swooshable, it's compact, it's sturdy, it's just fun to play with. The one annoying part when you're kind of flying it around are these rotors. Now, I was actually kind of blown away by how Mega did this. It's just a frame that's curved to match that of the propellers, and it clamps it just enough that you can move it in literally any direction and it won't fall out. So that was kind of genius. The only thing is with the way it's attached in, it's not very tight, so they kind of want to shift around on you. So getting like a nice pose, like with them both off to one side or whatever, you can very easily knock it out of alignment. So that was the only kind of frustrating part. But the whole thing, it's a lot of fun. It just is. The size is really good. I think it's pretty much dead on with the size accuracy. It honestly is almost 100% accurate, except for this tail fin. I think the tail fin needed to have been like at least 3 studs wider, at least just based on the footage that I've seen of Wasps in Halo Infinite. It's just got a really, really wide tail, and this one's a little on the small side. And maybe this section here is a little short, but I don't know. That's questionable. Just the width should have been more. But we have our engines back here that can be moved separately. We got some down here that can also be moved separately, and there is some like vent detail in there. Very, very cool. Printed UNSC on both sides, a big like intake on the top. There are some new pieces here. The propellers in there, I believe, are new, and the pieces that all make up this whole assembly. Some printed pieces here. The yellow bits are printed, although when this spins and moves around, the yellow is not going to be pointing in one direction all the time. And we have some rocket launchers on the front, as well as machine guns. I don't know if this little machine gun on a pole piece is new or not, but I've never seen it before, so it's new to me. And then, of course, the windshield is a new piece. So we have this little piece here that hinges down, and then it hinges up like this, and you can hinge this part down like that. Now, accuracy-wise, this is not correct at all because the Wasp windshield like slides up and back, but I don't really know how Mega would have done that. I think this is a perfectly fine use of their system with the hinges and stuff. I think that's fine. As you can see, Chief is seated in there, sits in there quite comfortably. He can hold on to both the little throttles there. There's a printed console. You can just barely see it. Let me go ahead and pop him out. It is a little frustrating to get him sitting in there, I gotta say. Sitting in there with both hands on the steering yokes, that is. There's a seat back there. It kind of just flops around like that. There's nothing really holding it in place. And then we can do that. And then underneath, we have some more detail here with these really cool, like marbled yellow pieces. This one got like no marbling. This one got a ton. So that's just how the marbling works. It's random. We have extra missiles here, and then extra clips. I went ahead and stuck Chief's AR on there because, I mean, I'm not sure what else you would put there since Chief can't hold, or even the Marine can't really hold their weapon in the cockpit. And you can stick the weapon kind of behind the seat, but then if you're like flying this around and tip it down, the weapon goes flying right into their field of view. So that's a little weird. But it looks pretty good from the underside. It's pretty good from here. I've had some issues with pieces not wanting to like stick together all the way with this set, particularly like down under here. I'm not really sure why that is, but it's a thing. Let me go ahead and shoot the rockets so you can see Works pretty well. My only complaint with these rocket launchers is sometimes these little prongs here will break. But other than that, they're a lot of fun to mess around with. There is a lot of exposed studs. However, I think that's not a bad thing because it matches the Pelican. And speaking of the Pelican, I'm going to go ahead and go grab it so we can see this alongside of it. Alrighty, so let's do some size comparisons. First, here it is next to the most recent Banshee. I think that looks respectable. I think that's pretty accurate. Be cool to have these dog fighting. Kind of want to do a photo of that now. That would be pretty epic. Then we have a Warthog. This is basically the Sky Warthog. I think that's a pretty accurate description. They look pretty good. Obviously, the Warthog is a lot smoother, so it looks a little odd in that regard next to the Wasp, or makes the Wasp look a little odd in that regard, but it's pretty cool. And now the big boy. Oh, he barely fits in here. The Pelican itself. Look at that beauty. One of the best, if not the best, Infinite set so far, at least in terms of the build. So there's a little Wasp riding on its back. It's very small. Move further back. Very small. Let's see. Could you technically mount it under here? Yes, look at that. Size-wise, that's perfect. You could totally mount this back here. You know, like in the multiplayer, it comes down and drops the Wasp for people to use. See, now next to the Pelican with all of the Pelican's exposed studs, the Wasp looks perfectly normal. And I think that's fantastic. Like having 2 or 3 Wasps to escort a Pelican. Yes. Perfection. And now I really want to find out a way to like mount it under here and let it hang. That would be pretty cool. Well, there you have it. That is the UNSC Wasp Onslaught. I gotta say, this set is a lot of fun. There were some issues, particularly with the Shade Turret. The Banished Hunter definitely had some sanding that he needed on the head, and the neck is kind of worryingly soft. So I'm not sure how that's going to turn out over time. But Chief is surprisingly really actually a great addition to the set. Like that's a very cool, unique version of Chief. And I checked and it does look like they kind of did something to his head again, which would make 3 different variants of the kind of Halo 2/3 now Infinite head. I don't know why they keep changing it. Mega, please just give us a Infinite specific head. But I'll go more into detail about that once I do all of the Infinite Chiefs compared Volume 2. The Marine is actually really good as well. I was not expecting her to be quite as good. Obviously, she's not my favorite Infinite Marine ever, but she's not bad. Like the way they did the head is really clever. It's much better than the blind bag version, and I really appreciate that. The fusion coil obviously is not a huge part of the set, but it's a nice little bonus, and I think it will help to fill out scenes better. And the Wasp itself is very cool, very fun to play around with. The cockpit pieces are really cool. Only thing I could say about the cockpit pieces, is this little bit right here doesn't always want to like stay up like it should. So that's a little bit awkward. But other than that, it's really fun. Like definitely get this because like I said, you could just swoosh it around for hours and it's just fun. Mega did a great job. I don't have the old Wasp to compare to. I never had that one. So I don't really know how that one, like how the build is, how it is for flying around, whatever. I know it's a little bit too big, like scale wise, and Mega kind of fixed that here. So I think all things considered, this is probably the superior Wasp, but don't take my word on that necessarily, because like I said, I don't really know. But all told, this is a great set, very well rounded. For $40, I think you get your money's worth. Anything higher, that would be too much, but you get 4 figures, one of them being a hunter. You get the 2 builds, and I think $40 is very fair. and it's good. Like 100% would recommend. Just be aware you'll probably break the pieces for the shade turret. I'm gonna contact customer service, see if I can get another one, but honestly, I kind of think if I do get another one, that'll end up breaking too, which kind of sucks, but you know, it's worth a shot anyway. So if you can get your hands on this, do it. Look on the Target website, look in Target's itself. Walmart might have it listed, I'm not sure, but if I find it's on Walmart, I'll put the link in the description. The Target link will be in the description as well. And I would definitely recommend go hit those links and try to get yourself a Wasp because it's really cool. Or maybe even get yourself 2 or 3 and get an escort for your Pelican. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.